Hello everyone! The tale of becoming a warrior consists of hitting really big things with an axe, making it a perfect and natural progression from our tale as a marauder, where we hit ever larger things with our axe. In fact, at first glance, the main difference between a marauder and a warrior is that the latter is just really angry while hitting things. But of course, it's far from that simple. In this video, we will explore the story of the warrior in A Realm Reborn. If you like Final Fantasy XIV lore, guides and news, remember to subscribe and engage with the video to please our algorithm gods. Centuries ago, when the city-states waged war with one another, there were sought-after fighters known as warriors, great axe-wielding men and women who fought with unbridled ferocity. They became highly valued mercenaries, able to find work pretty much anywhere. They were renowned for their amazing battle capabilities, but not liked. You see, amongst the stories of their amazing fighting were the tales of unbridled bloodlust, a warrior lost in the red haze of carnage, turning against friend and foe in equal measure, killing all within their axe's reach. With their red glowing eyes and mouth frothing rage, they could seem more like monsters than men. So as time of war ended and the city-states moved to a time of peace, the warriors became unwanted and often shunned, the story of their beast-like ferocity becoming a tale of warning to others. Over time, the large groups of warriors diminished to only one or two appearing from time to time, giving some of the impression that perhaps the warriors simply died out. But the warriors did not die out at all. Up in the Appalachia spine lives a mountain tribe who still lives by the idea of the warrior. And while the youngest recorded history of their technique was penned more than 5 centuries ago, they still train and learn. And of those warriors in training are 2 brothers, Curious Gorge and Broken Mountain, both trained to become warriors together. Broken Mountain even learning some basic healing skills from the local conjurer to heal his brother, who tended to be quite prone to accidents. Within the tribe is an ancient tome holding the old writing of the warrior, detailing their history and technique, a tome both brothers would in time try to decipher and work with, but being in the old Rokutan tongue, it is a challenge to understand. Still, over time, both brothers would do their best to understand what was written in the book and to learn from it. Eventually, Broken Mountain would head down from his tribe, deciding to travel across Eorzea to spread the word of the warrior. But his journey would be far from an easy one. Sometime later, Curious Gorge would also leave the village. Having grown tired of just training up in the mountains, he wanted to put his skills into practice. He would eventually join the Company of Heroes, a group of death or glory mercenaries which were operating from the year 1562 till 1572 in the wake of the 7th Umbral Calamity. Over these 10 years, the group became famous for fighting and defeating the Primals, Titan and Leviathan who plagued Limsa. Exactly when Curious Gorge was part of the group isn't specified, but it must have been around the end of the company's lifetime. It's around the year 1577 that the tale of our warrior begins. We originally joined the Marauder Guild, mastering our skill with an axe against the ever mightier beasts. Till in the end, we helped a young boy obtain his vengeance against the monster who killed his parents. But our tale as a warrior begins one day as we meet up with Windsoen, the Axe-Master. He asks us to head down to Costa del Sol, where an old comrade in arm of his has been working as a guardsman. He is an excellent axe-wielder, so it's unusual for him to be flustered by something. But it seems there is a trouble at hand. So Windsoen asked us to go help him, and he has also sent his sister Solkvib to tend to the wounded. We have worked with Solkvib before, with great success, so we of course agree and hurry to the beach resort. When we meet up with her, we learn the trouble is turtles. Spotting our look of disappointment, he quickly points out that there are some nasty turtles who snap and gnash at everything aside, and the guards here have found themselves to be no match for them. He sends us up the northern shore to investigate. We head down to the beach grumbling about the fact that it's turtles. Yes, it's turtles, and yes, they're apparently scary, but I mean, it's turtles. What is so scary about that? and as we reach the beach, we come across a Rogadin with red glowing eyes. As he roars like a wild beast, the turtles, who actually happen to be bloody huge, making the Rogadin look just small in comparison, come stomping out of the water, while he just walks away, red eyes glowing and all. Being unsure of what the hell is going on, we rush to deal with the beasts, finding that maybe these turtles were actually a proper threat, and they're quite fun to hit. And as we dispose of these turtles, an even bigger one appears, and with it comes a new fighter. Dressed like the red-eyed Rogadin at the beach, this one has a helmet, and the biggest axe I have ever seen. With his help, we strike down these massive beasts, and afterward, we greet this fighter. It turns out he's not a marauder, but a warrior, named Curious Gorge. He sees the strength in us, the inner beast ready to be used for battle, and offers to train us. And of course we agree, so we had to meet him near the Hidden Falls. And there we go to meet him, and I am not okay with this meeting spot. This is the reason you don't let the Rogadins pick a meeting spot, ever. I mean, please at least supply me with weighted barrel to stand on or something. Curious Gorge gives us a soul stone of the warrior. It will resonate with our inner beast, empowering our will as we use it, giving us more strength than we ever thought would be possible. You see, a warrior's inner beast is the source of their strength. This snarling furor fuels all their devastating and ferocious techniques. With the inner beast unlocked but under control, the warrior can use it to gain power, eclipsing even the most disciplined soldiers. But if the warrior loses control, and the beast takes over, he will lose to it, going on a mindless rampage of uncontrollable violence, killing anyone and anything in his path. Our training is all about learning to control the beast, but Curious Gorge is worried. You see, he left his tribe before his training was completed. So while he has succeeded in starting the training of his first warrior, he fears it might all end in failure if he does not prove to be a proper teacher. To help him, he has the chronicles of his ancestors, but has yet to manage to decipher all of the texts. He had hoped we find his brother out here, who can actually read the text far easier than him, but he does not know where he is right now. So instead, to train us, he will study the text and then give us our lessons one by one. Giving him some time to read, we soon return back to the neck-deep water of the Hidden Falls. Curious Gorge tells us of his latest exploit. He is currently on the hunt for some mysterious feral beast that has been terrorizing people all over. No one seems to know where it came from or where it's now, but it is described as a mad and thirsty for blood, unlike anything they've ever seen. But with him hunting the beast so far with little luck, it also means he has not fully been able to dedicate himself to deciphering the text. Still, he has managed to decipher a passage that talks about an ancient armor forged by his ancestors in the flames of the Seven Hells. Then, the armor was inscribed with the same arcane incantation that adorns the soul of the warrior. His power made their wearer stronger than one could ever imagine, and was passed down from hero to apprentice for centuries. Till finally, one of its owner went mad with rage and ended up casting all 5 pieces from the highest peak of the Appalachia spine. But that is all he has managed to translate so far. But he does have our next training in hand. We are to go to the Sagoli Desert to beat up a gargantuan sandworm. We are to awaken the inner beast and use it to strike down the worm, or else get eaten by it. Now it's just a matter of finding the worm that he can't quite tell us, so he directs us to go to the Forgotten Springs, where the Mikotay Ute tribe is located. Mikotays being excellent hunters, they are sure to know something. With tribes like this consisting of one dominant male, given the second name Noon, denoting his rank, the rest are generally females, though few males can also be within the tribe, their second name being Tia, denoting their tribal position. This time around, we speak to some of the girls and one of the Tias, who gives us a guidance of how to get the sandworm to come out. It turns out that is easier than one would think. Just go to its hunting ground and stomp around on the sand till it comes out and tries to eat you. And so we do, killing it quite easily as we release our inner beast. Report to Curious Gorge, we can see our increased strength. So the plan is simple. He studies the text, we continue training by hitting ever bigger things. When we return, sometimes later, Curious Gorge is looking mighty excited here in his stupid deep water. He has been studying and found where the book describes how others began to fear the warriors. It seems the city-states began instructing the soldiers in similar techniques as the warriors used. When they inevitably lost control, the city-state banned the warrior art altogether. But Curious Gorge is confused, as never in his training did anyone talk about this dark part of their history, and he has never seen anyone lose themselves to their age, like the chronicles describe. He wonders if there are truths or just falsehood. Either way, he wants to right the wrong and rebuild the honor of their order. And our first start is Wineport, as the beast he has been chasing seems to have a minion, a fell creature, and it's wreaking havoc over there. So we will go there and save them, showing them the true power of the warrior. So off we rush to speak to the captain of the Wineport militia. And the captain is very glad to have us. After all, a militia is mostly just volunteers, and not necessarily highly trained soldiers. But he's very pleased to get 2 people with 2 sets of axes, very eager to kill everything. We and Curious Gorge split up, defending the town from different directions, striking down every monster or hostile creature that comes to us. But as we return to the captain, he tells us he heard a scream within the village. The beast might be there, so we rush in, only to see Curious Gorge there striking down a vicious bird. His eyes glowing red with his inner beast released, he scans for enemies as a young girl looks at him with fear, calling him a monster, begging him to go away. She does not see the proud warrior, but a hideous beast. Curious Gorge stops, startled by this declaration of the child. He comes down from his rage and heads back to the fold to think. We speak to the captain, who says the girl was just frightened. The warrior is no beast or a monster. He will speak to the villagers to explain the situation, while we go talk to Curious Gorge. We find him back at the falls, where he apologizes for leaving so abruptly. He says he now understands that while he was in full control of his inner beast, to the outsider, it might seem like the opposite is true. Perhaps this is the root of the misunderstanding, but he will need to think on it. So we give him time as we train, letting him ponder the text again. Coming back, Curious Gorge is quite excited. He has made a grand discovery about the armor thrown from the Appalachia spine. It seems 5 of the fallen heroes' pupils went out to recover the armor pieces, planning to restore their master's name. As they found the pieces, they failed to bring them together. The power of the armor began working on them, making it so no one was willing to relinquish their piece, and now understood that their master's fatal pride came from the artifact combined influence. It would be best to keep the pieces separated and share the power that might consume 1 man between 5 men instead. So each kept their piece and carved their own place in history as great warriors. Then, before their death, each returned to the place of their greatest victory and buried their piece in an attempt to prevent any one person from holding all of them. But Curious Gorge has figured out where they are. Well, 3 of them. So we are to head out to find them while he studies to find the other 2, and will try to fetch them. What follows is a trip around Eorzea as we find where each piece was hidden and bring it back. Though, oddly, none of them was buried. They're all in chests just sitting on the ground. Still, as we return with the pieces, Curious Gorge asks us to wear them. And as we do, he knows that the power of the rune are notable. This is no mere folk story. They are resonating with our soul crystal. He tells us about another piece and asks us to fetch it. And yet again, as we bring it, it does resonate with us. But strangely, for some reason, it did not resonate with him when he went to try to find the final piece. He believes it is because his soul crystal has dimmed ever since the incident at Wineport. He does not quite understand why, but based on the writing of the armor, anyone who is not strong enough to use it would be driven mad. In his current state, he is not strong enough, and it seems the armor sensed it, shutting its power down instead of driving him insane. That is honestly preferable. I like Curious Gorge and don't want him to go on a mindless rampage till we are forced to kill him. We ask him about the final piece, but he tells us he left it where he found it. It's the breastplate closest to the warrior's heart, and with the greatest power and therefore risk of all the pieces. He did not dare move it, as he was not sure why it did not respond to him as it should. But now he has us. He wants us to go fetch it, but if we feel ourselves starting to lose control, we should cast the armor aside from the highest mountain or into the deepest ocean. It doesn't matter, but we may not lose to it. Promising to be very, very careful, we're off to find the piece of armor. As we find it deep in a cave in Coerthas, curious Scourge actually appears, seeming to have followed us. He says he has been thinking deeply about the relic and believes that it is too risky to be given to an outsider. We could simply get overwhelmed by it and lose ourselves, making the reputation of warriors so much worse, putting all his work at risk. So he takes the armor and marches back to his stupid deep water, where we follow to have a talk with him. Curious Scourge does apologize there for his change of mind, but he fears he can't trust us with the power he can't even trust himself with. So for now, no one will wear the breastplate, at least positive they're strong enough to withstand it. We go for a walk, thinking about this, seeing the reasoning, and calming down a bit. But as we return, Curious Scourge seems to be hastily preparing to leave. He tells us the rampaging beast he has been hunting has been spotted near Wineport, and we must go there right now to protect the village. According to onlookers, the creature seemed more of a man than a beast, making it so we might be speaking of a warrior. And then this is far more complicated matter than a mere animal. We rush over to Wineport. No matter what the review might be of the warrior art, we must keep them safe. We find the captain of the militia who is eager to get our help. The beast is within the village, and the hordes of creatures are now coming towards the village as if drawn to it. So Curious Scourge goes to fight the beast while we handle the outer defenses, striking down creature after creature in defense of the village. Finally, as the horde of animals stop, we rush to Curious Scourge to assist him. There we see the same girl who feared him so much before. She is trying to run away, but is knocked down by an adult doing the same. As he curls up on the ground in fear, we realize the one behind her is not Curious Scourge at all. It is another Rogadin, who seems to have lost his mind to the inner beast. This is the same Rogadin we saw down at the beach just a long time ago. This turns out to be Curious Scourge's brother. He has been the rampaging beast all this time, it seems. Curious Scourge begs him to regain his senses, telling his brother that he is stronger than this, that if he does not regain his senses, it might cost him everything. And then Curious Scourge charges his brother, beating him down with the intent of stopping him, only to lose himself to the rage instead, turning to us demanding the rest of the armor. But we know this is not what he is. This is not what he really wants. So instead, we introduce him to our axe, knocking some sense back into him, and perhaps getting a slight revenge from the stupid deep water he's had us standing in so far. Curious Scourge falls but regains his senses, and thankfully so does his brother. He admits he knew that it was his brother the whole time, but he had hoped to get strong enough that people would see it wasn't the fault of the warrior, just a product of a weak mind. But that entire time his own soul was growing weaker and weaker, as the inner beast kept taking stronger and stronger hold of him. It drove him just like it drove his ancestors, the keepers of the armor, and his brother. He lost control. He sees now that his tribe has lost their way. Instead of seeking further strength of will, they have sought more strength of the body. They steal their minds with anger instead of resolve, and that is where they failed. But we don't do that. Our strength doesn't come from anger, but from resolve and determination. We are a true representation of what the warrior are to be. He now knows he must start from the beginning if he ever wants to restore their tribe's good name. But at least this time he won't have to do it alone. His brother is alive and seems to have come to his senses, so they will be able to do it together. As the brothers leave, we speak to the militia captain. He is pleased and has gained a more deeper understanding of what has happened. In fact, he asks us to tell Curious Scourge the small hamlet will be relying on him for protection. As he is a true warrior, and they would have been lost without his strength. We rush over to tell Curious Scores the great news, and he is stunned. He never expected someone to entrust their safety to him. And what then the safety of their home and people? He's pleased and tells us for now he will remain here, protecting the hamlet and helping his brother recover. Then the two of them will return on the path of the warrior together. In fact, he tells us that curiously enough, as he had made the choice for himself, his soul crystal began shimmering once more, as if he has started finding his way again. Still, he does not believe he should wear the armor. No, in fact, if there's anyone who has conquered their inner beast and become a true warrior, it's us. So he gives us the chest piece, and together we make a promise. The brothers will keep on studying the way of the warrior, their strength and history, and we will continue on our journey showing the people of Eorzea what a true warrior is. And so ends the story of the warrior in A Realm Reborn. A story that left me with friends, a bloody axe, and soaked clothes. Let's all hope the next time we meet Curious Scores, he picks a better place for the meeting. Or at least a place with a big rock where I can stand on. Honestly, I'm not that picky. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you would like more content like this, you can find plenty of it here on the channel. I hope you go check out the playlist or one of the videos being shown on the screen right now. But for now, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a lovely day.